It has been a very busy past 24-30 hours when it comes to Ukraine. We've seen a lot of different stuff happen, from Ukrainians taking back another village towards Pokrovsk, to Ukrainians launching a lot of drones into Crimea, plus the Flamingo that just happened a few days ago confirmed to take out at least some kind of hovercraft and potentially some personnel inside of Crimea. And so I just want to quickly do a short little video breaking down as much as we can, just because just a lot that is happening at this very moment. When it comes to Crimea, we have seen in just the past 24 hours two Mi-8 helicopters destroyed. Granted, Russia does have a lot of them. We saw an S-300 radar destroyed, which makes you laugh because it's just like, wait a minute, aren't they supposed to be looking for these things and now they're completely destroyed? Yep. We saw the hovercraft, and then we saw a military tugboat. This is indicating a lot of different stuff. It looks like Russia, in their air defense systems, especially in Crimea, they're kind of non-existent. Because for the Flamingo itself, just a couple days ago, for 3 of them to be launched, we're assuming from the shorelines of Odessa, to go across the Black Sea into Crimea to strike these targets without being intercepted at all, it definitely raised a red flag. And now what we're seeing from the Ukrainian HUR, which, by the way, they did release the footage, we're seeing these drones get through Russian defenses quite easily to destroy these aircraft. So let's back up for a second here. Ukraine had launched a special military operation, or an undercover operation, to attack what would be a secret base inside of Crimea. This happened nearby the Ukrainian-occupied Ukrainian city of Simferopol, in which there looks to be a launching area of Russia and a few of their different kind of helicopters. I even saw potentially even an aircraft in the photos that we're seeing. And in the video, which I'll play for you in a second, you can clearly see the Ukrainian drones kind of weave their way in and out before striking their targets. And this is the video, in which it kind of seems like more than likely they used multiple drones. I say that because they were trying to go to the ones further away first. Here's the first one being hit, boom, and then the second one, in which it's going to bypass the first one and go over to the further away one, which once again makes me feel like they probably use other drones, and they were saying go for the far ones first before they get alerted, and then we'll go for the other ones. There's a second one hit, and then here is the tugboat in Sevastopol Bay, in which goes right to the middle, the tower, and then... Now, this video only showcases 2 helicopters being hit, where others may be damaged, or maybe other ones destroyed. It's a possibility. Ukraine usually sends a decent amount of drones, but 2 of them still got through and destroyed these Mi-8 helicopters. At the same time, we're seeing that another group of drones made their way to Sevastopol. In this, they went after a Russian military tugboat. It says here it's used by the elite Russian underwater sabotage units, and somehow they were able to, once again, weave through the Russian air defense systems to destroy said thing. So, big attack there. Now, I'm assuming that as those were going on, Ukraine had also launched another attack towards Saky. This is a Saky airfield. And according to Ukraine Special Operations Forces, they targeted a radar of the S-300. Now, it's one thing to destroy the launcher of an S-300, because when you destroy a launcher, sure, you're destroying multiple missiles. That's great. But when you destroy the radar of said system, you essentially make those rockets blind. They can't launch. They don't know what they're going at. And so for them to destroy said radar, that is a major problem for Russia. That radar also kind of works for more than one launcher. So if you destroy that, you could potentially knock out 2 or 3 launchers, which means there could be 9 missiles just sitting there saying, hey, what are we doing here? We can't see anything. It's a major loss for Russia. It makes you wonder, why? Is Ukraine going to maybe exclusively only use their Flamingos to attack Crimea? It's a possibility. In some of the Telegram channels that we're in, that's one of the things they're discussing. The fact that Ukraine doing all of these hits inside of Crimea could indicate that maybe they're trying to take out everything closer to Kherson. And if they can clear out all of that space of maybe Russian attack units or, in this case, radars, they can then launch a major attack with all the flamingos to target in a single night, potentially 12 different areas. I say this because we know that Ukraine is getting ready to mass produce the flamingos. And even though they're kind of getting a little bit of permission from the United States and Trump to go deeper into Russia, Zelensky has already kind of hinted that, yes, deeper dives into occupied territories and or Russia, they're coming. Things are being planned at this very moment, which means that, yes, we're going to see things happen very soon. And I think that Ukraine, still kind of trying to test out these flamingos, might want to target more things in Crimea before they move further. That aside, we're still seeing Ukraine take big hits into Russia. We saw in Krasnodar a rail station that is being used to transfer equipment and men and oil and gas and all that be destroyed. We're also seeing HIMARS, which is actually being mostly used inside of Ukraine. We're seeing that actually today towards Pokrovsk, taking out a tank convoy. But Ukrainians are doing a lot. And if you've noticed on deep state maps, Russia kind of stopped moving forward in many different sectors, with Ukrainians either holding them back or pushing them back. With Russia still making some advancements, but nothing that makes you go, wow, what a push. What a push. It's kind of died down a little bit, which makes you go, is the summer offensive over? Or is Russia starting to get tired? Or they're running out of things? All questions we don't have answers to. This is what's leading us to what's going on in September. Where on September 4th, Zelensky got invited to be part of what is essentially just a major cooperation of different countries coming together to talk about what's going on. We're going to see Germany, the UK, NATO, EU Commission all in Paris on September 4th. And what's weird is that who's not going to be there? Donald Trump. Donald Trump was not invited to this meeting. And it does kind of point out to the fact that Donald Trump kind of stated a few days ago that the U.S. would be kind of stepping back. If you kind of go through the notes and all that, it kind of makes it seem like Donald Trump wants Ukraine and Russia to play around for a bit and just see how things go. That's kind of what it looks like, especially because we haven't seen Donald Trump yet even publicly come out to denounce what Russia did about a few days ago when they attacked Kyiv, hitting high-rise buildings, destroying a 5-story residential building. Yeah, we still haven't heard Trump say anything, even though I know you're probably reading the news that Trump is sick, Trump is dying, blah, blah, blah. I'm ignoring all that. He's just old, and I hate when people just make videos talking about that because it kind of steps away from the important stories of the day. But we could be seeing what would be a major meeting without Donald Trump or the U.S. really being there. Granted, NATO, I know. But this might show how the United States might be moving forward, where they're just going to sit back, keep selling weapons to whether they be Ukraine or NATO or European countries, who then in return will send that stuff to Ukraine. That might be the extent of what the United States will be doing moving forward. It's kind of what it seems like at this very moment, because Donald Trump is still licking his wounds for the whole thing with Steve Witkoff, which I really do need to make another video about, a full video, because if you really go deep dive into this, Witkoff screwed over Trump so badly, who truly thought that there was going to be a deal in which Russia was going to give Kherson and Zaporizhia to Ukraine, and Donetsk and Luhansk would be Russian, and that deal was going to work out, and Ukraine was on board, and then they found out that Witkoff was either lied to or didn't understand the translator, which was given by the Russians, which is just like, wait a minute, that's a sign you probably shouldn't go against protocol. Once again, I need to save that for another video. But this meeting comes as right now we're seeing the Shanghai Cooperation Summit take place inside of China, in which you're seeing all of the baddies come together. North Korea, Iran, China, Russia, of course, and now India. Well, there's other countries there too. But we're now seeing India growing deeper ties with China. So you're looking at Russia, enemy number one, China sort of our enemy number two, as we've been trying to distance ourselves from China, because China is doing a lot to A, help Russia, and B, they are our competitor in the world of superpowers. And we had originally the Quad. If you remember the Quad, it's a mix between Japan, Australia, the United States, and India, trying together to try to check China, put China in its place. That's why we've moved a lot of our manufacturing and trade from China to India. But if India is moving closer to China, that's not helping the U.S. interests. And so we're seeing a cooperation meeting between all of the baddies, which, looking at the world stage, looks like them against us. Especially because the U.S. is trying to pressure anyone buying things or helping out Russia, which is India, Iran, North Korea, and China. Do you see how this could be very bad for us down the line? Which is why the next few weeks are going to be very important. So we're going to see European leaders meet, and that meeting is still going on through, I think, September 3rd. And we'll see what comes out of it. It has truly been very, very interesting. And let's remember that China is themselves still selling weapons to Russia. And I know officially on paper it's not true, but what they do is they manufacture all the parts and then they send the instructions over like a Lego piece, in which we're not selling them weapons, we're just selling them parts. And then Russia rebuilds the thing. Do you see? China's helping out a lot more than you think. And this comes as we're seeing Russia's hybrid pressure on Europe and potentially an attack on the EU Commission president. If you haven't seen yet, the EU Commission president, Ursula, she was flying to Bulgaria. And just as they were about to land, their system, their GPS system, was jammed. They had to fly in the sky for over an hour before the pilot or the captain on board said, you know what? Everyone, let's take out the paper maps and we're going to analog this. We're going to sit down and we're going to draw it out, get everything together, and then land this thing. After they landed, it was announced that more than likely this happened because Russia was using a GPS jammer to essentially harass NATO countries and or the EU Commission president. Now, this is a problem because essentially what Russia is doing here is saying, look at this thing we just did to you and you're not going to do anything about it. And they're not wrong. Nothing's going to come of this. But Russia is flexing because they know that without the United States backing up Europe 100% and putting pressure onto Putin, then, yeah, it's becoming a problem. Which, when it comes to pressure, I know the House and the Senate here in the United States has two different ways of doing this, one being a 500% tariff / secondary sanction. The House has something a little bit lighter than that. But we're also getting hints, at least at this time, it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, we're getting hints from many different outlets that Donald Trump and the United States is going to pressure Europe into A, making sure they're not buying anything Russian. And yes, you might be saying, oh, they don't buy Russian gas. I hate to be that guy. They do. It's been washed. Like it comes through, whether it be India or other countries, it gets then washed, as we say, and then sent out. They're still buying it. I know they're still buying it. I've spoken to congressmen and senators we've talked about this stuff, in which Germany, for one of those, even know that, yes, in the coming weeks, they're going to have to take a hit. And that hit is going to be short, but it's going to hurt them. But at the same time, it could pressure Russia into ending their war. That aside, the White House is pressuring Europe to put more tariffs and sanctions and to stop buying these things, which makes you kind of like, wait, why wouldn't the United States do that? Donald Trump is taking like a back seat a little bit here. This all brings us to my last story for the day. ODIN'S Eye. You may have seen today, it was announced that Germany and France are working on a major project, which could combine the masses of 38 different companies across 14 different countries to create a multi-layered early warning system, and then advanced defense system. Just like how we've been seeing in Ukraine. Remember, the system's going to be based off of what we've learned from Ukraine, since realistically speaking, the enemy is Russia and Ukraine has a decent system. It's a multi-layered system depending on what is being shot over, ballistics, hypersonics, whether they be drones, etc. And then that system would be an array of radars, other sensors that could detect things coming, then figure out which missile is going to be used, and then said missile will intercept. And this whole project is called ODIN'S. It's still in the early phases, and those in Europe, you're probably saying, haven't we heard something like this in the past? You have. It's just those ones did kind of not developed over time, and so this is the latest one. It's going to be an improvement of the one inside of Ukraine, since they're going to be looking at what had worked and what didn't work. Like, Russia does like to overwhelm the system, and Ukraine has a smaller system. If they had a larger one, it would definitely be more efficient, especially when it comes to that last attack in Kyiv. But there is going to be a new system. It's going to take a while to put together, but essentially Europe needs to prepare for a war with Russia within 5 to 10 years if Russia is not stopped today. Whew, that was a lot of news. I apologize. I tried to make this video as short as possible. There's a lot to compound into this, but I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on everything. If you haven't done so, you can get a written form of all this stuff that I send out almost daily on my Substack newsletter. I'll put the link to that in the description of this video, and there is a paid version in which you're going to get your name at the end of this video, in which I would greatly appreciate if you do become a paid one, just because takes a lot of time to do these videos. We do about 9 to 15 videos on TikTok, and then a long form video almost once a week. So if you want to sign up for that, I'd greatly appreciate it. But if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. I'm Joey. Stay safe.